In the realm of the electricity market, open access has emerged as the prevailing term, particularly gaining traction among electricity consumers. The total electricity generation in India has crossed 1,500 billion units a year. This includes thermal, nuclear, hydro and renewable energy. In terms of capacity, the peak power demand is 256 gigawatt. And this is expected to grow at 10% annually. Commercial and industrial consumers consume 49% of the electricity generation in India. And this segment of C&I is a significant consumer in this country.
In India, commercial and industrial consumers typically pay higher electricity tariffs to subsidize agricultural and residential consumers.
The renewable energy open access market is growing in almost all key renewable rich states in India, increasing awareness and demand from commercial and industrial customers were key drivers of this growth. India achieved a record-breaking annual installation of solar open access, adding 3.2 gigawatt in the calendar year 2023. But the cumulative installed solar capacity in the open access segment as of December 2023 has reached only 12.2 gigawatt. So what is open access? Open access is a mechanism through which electric consumers, especially large consumers like commercial and industrial consumers, can purchase electricity from open market or generators directly instead of discoms. This means they can choose their electricity supplier even if it is not the utility company serving their area. Open access promotes competition in the electricity market and encourages the use of renewable energy sources. As a result, open access often leads to competition and lower electricity prices, improves the reliability and quality of the power supply, and enhance efficiency in the overall energy system. Various industrial and commercial consumers can utilize this mechanism to reduce their electricity costs by procuring cheaper power electricity. Open access was introduced first in Electricity Act 2003. The intent of the Electricity Act 2003 on open access is promote competition by freeing all possible avenues of procurement and sale of power. Before we delve into the intricacies of open access, let's grasp some basic outline in the Electricity Act. Firstly, it is essential to understand electricity is a concurrent subject regulated by a central government as well as state government. At the central level, regulations are overseen by the Central Electricity Regulation Commission (CERC), while State Electricity Regulation Commissions (SCRC) manage regulations at the state level. Key players in the electricity system operation include the National Load Dispatch Center, Regional Load Dispatch Center, and State Load Dispatch Center. These entities ensure efficient management and coordination of electricity generation and distribution. When it comes to power generation, entities include central generating stations, state generating stations, and independent power producers. For transmission, we have the Central Transmission Utility (CTU), State Transmission Utility (STU), and Independent Power Transmission Companies (IPTC). Distribution network encompass state distribution and private distribution channels. And finally, in the realm of the electricity market, we have power exchanges and bilateral market facilitating trading and transactions. The off-taker models to purchase a power, utilities like discoms. Under open access, we have a power exchange, third-party IPPs, captive and group captive power generation. Here we have intrastate by wheeling and transmission agreements and interstate by transmission agreements. Some of the silent features of Electricity Act 2003: delicensing of generation, development of multi-buyer, multi-seller market in power, tariff-based competitive bidding for procurement of power, trading licensed activity, non-discriminatory open access, parallel license and distribution, development of power market, state electricity regulations mandatory for each state. The opportunities for generating companies under this act: no license required for developing a generating station, can sell power to any persons through open access, easy change in purchaser in the event of default in honoring contract by purchaser. If you look at the opportunities for consumers, buy power from anywhere, could explore cheaper sources, especially useful for high demand commercial and industrial consumers, Industrial consumers could consolidate power supply to plants at various locations and build captive power or group captive plant to achieve economy. Of course, there are few prerequisites for open access. Availability based tariff, special energy meter, it's called ABT meter, to be installed for energy accounting. Available transmission corridor, signing up with any power trader, payment security for availing open access. However, Electricity Act 2003 did not put any constraint on the type of power source. As per the Electricity Act 2003, the open access consumers with connected load of 1 megawatt or more only can directly purchase energy from the generators. On 6th June 2022, a significant step was taken by Ministry of Power to propel the growth of India's renewable energy projects. The ministry notified the electricity to promote renewable energy through Green Energy Open Access Rules 2022, aimed at accelerating the adoption of renewable energy. These rules provide a pathway for consumers with connected load exceeding 100 kilowatt to engage in open access for renewable energy. Under these rules, consumers have several options, including setting up their own renewable energy plant, entering into the power purchase agreement with the renewable energy developers, or establishing captive power plants. Additionally, they can procure green energy from power markets or purchase renewable energy certificates. These rules pave the way for greater accessibility and utilization of renewable energy, aligning with India's commitment to sustainable and green future. In October 2021, the Ministry of Power, Government of India, introduced a transformative step with the notification of transmission planning rules. These rules ushered in the era of General Network Access (GNA) networks under the One Nation, One Grid, One Frequency regime. To implement this, the CERC issued Connectivity and General Network Access to the Interstate Transmission System Regulations 2022 on October 15, 2022. The GNA regulations ensures non-discriminatory access to the central transmission network for all power producers. GNA offers more flexibility and enables open access for buyers and sellers of power in terms of scheduling while considering grid constraints. Additionally, the Government of India implemented One Nation, One Grid, One Frequency policy in February 2023. This landmark achievement saw South India joining the national electricity grid, completing the integration of the entire country. This integration not only relieves power shortages in various regions but also enhances transmission efficiency and demand management. With improved transmission and better management of demand, the stability of the electricity grid is ensured, paving the way for more reliable and affordable power supply. With this interconnection, the Indian power system has entered into a new era and become one of the largest operating synchronous grids in the world, with about 232 gigawatt of installed power generation capacity.
I think the infrastructure is the most important thing. It doesn't get a lot of attention, but it really is the key.
A rapidly growing India is ensuring all-round development and prosperity, thereby transforming lives and promising a golden future. Each day, India is scaling new heights like never before.
एक इलाके में बिजली रहती थी, कोई लेने वाला नहीं था, और दूसरा इलाका बिजली के लिए तड़पता था, अंधेरे में जीता था, कारखाने बंद हो जाते थे, और उसको बदलाव लाने के लिए वन नेशन, वन ग्रिड, वन प्राइस.
The extraordinary journey of formation of one national grid was finally achieved with the commissioning of 765 kV Raichur-Solapur transmission line,
thus transforming our grid into one of the largest grids in the world. We added 1,49,000 circuit kilometers of transmission. The inter-regional power exchange has helped in meeting the demand in energy deficit regions. Now power can be transferred from Kashmir to Kanyakumari and from Gujarat to Guwahati and vice versa. Our inter-regional transfer capacity is now 1,12,000 megawatts. That means we can transfer 1,12,000 megawatts from one part of the country to another. This ensures the efficient utilization of resources and reduction in the cost of electricity to the common man. bringing economy and reliability in the power sector. In fact, we have established cross-border linkages of our national grid with neighboring countries of Bangladesh, Nepal and Bhutan. This enables us to exchange power as well as also enables the efficient utilization of our generation assets.
Based on the location of the purchasing and selling entities, open access can be classified as interstate open access, intrastate open access. In interstate open access, the purchasing and selling entities belong to different states and they have to follow Central Electricity Regulation Commission regulations. The purchase rights under interstate open access can be for short term, that is for less than a month period, and medium term, that is 3 months to 3 years period, and long term, that is for 12 months to 12 years period. There is interstate charges, but for the renewable energy, the interstate charges are exempted presently. In intrastate open access, the purchasing and selling entities, in this case, belong to the same state. It follows State Electricity Regulation Commission. It can also be classified as short term, medium term and long term, where the duration of these terms vary based on the regulations of respective states. The buyer and seller of electricity can opt for either collective or bilateral transactions. In collective transactions, the trading of the electricity is facilitated through exchanges with a very small margin fixed towards exchange members. In case of bilateral transaction, a power purchase agreement is signed between the seller and the consumer for buying power at mutually agreed tariff for a predetermined number of years. Many of the leading renewable energy developers in India are resorting to bilateral agreements for tariff determination with commercial and industrial clients. The STU charges as per the State Regulation Commission guidelines is applicable. As mentioned, operators under the open access have to incur various charges for using the grid. These charges can vary from state to state and are lesser in state with a stable grid and favorable regulatory regime. Further, by specifying the associated charges, which encompasses transmission, wheeling, cross-subsidy and standby charges, Green Energy Open Access provides economic benefits to the consumers. Transmission charges cover the cost of using transmission lines, interstate or intrastate. Wheeling charges pertain to the use of distribution network. Cross-subsidy charges balance out cost differences among consumer category and compensate discoms accordingly. Due to the variability of renewable energy and demand, discoms are required to standby power. Standby charges refers to the fees levied on open access consumers for their standby power. Consumers also have the option to utilize banking services, which involve storing surplus RE in the grid and using it as needed. Albeit with certain banking charges, these charges vary annually and across states. The bilateral mechanisms like third-party open access and captive mechanisms, captive open access mechanisms, the benefits in this mechanism are right to open access, no cross-subsidy surcharges applicable, no transmission license required, no supplier distribution license required, no additional surcharge applicable. The charges for the third party and captive mechanism is derived by corresponding state regulatory commission and for the interstate CERC. When navigating the complex world of open access charges, tools are available to simplify the process. Understanding the open access charges is crucial for navigating renewable energy projects across different states. Certain exemptions apply to solar and wind energies. Cross-subsidy charges are fully waived off for captive arrangements, while the third party it is applicable. In today's energy landscape, cross-subsidy charges loom large in many states, driving consumers to seek alternative solutions, enter the world of captive and group captive mechanisms. Within this mechanism, a special purpose vehicle can be formed. Consumers contribute 26% of the equity, allowing them to stake in the venture. The remaining equity can be sourced from investors, while 70% of the necessary funding is obtained through debt raised from banks. This strategic setup delivers a host of advantages. It minimizes the initial investment required, ensures the lowest landed cost of energy consumption, guarantees savings, provides a secure financial outlook for participants. Tax benefits, no burden of cross-subsidy charges and additional surcharges. What are virtual power purchase agreement? Virtual PPA, it's a bilateral agreement signed between the power producer like RE generator and the commercial and industrial consumers with no physical delivery of power. The power producer sells its electricity on the power exchanges like IEX, PXIL at the market price. The consumer only receives the renewable energy attributes, green energy credits, which is also issued in the form of REC, associated with the traded power for a pre-agreed virtual PPA price called the strike price. However, the difference between the strike price and the wholesale market rate forms the basis of the actual price settlement between the consumer and the power producer. When the market rate is higher than the strike price, the power producer pays the difference to the consumer, whereas when the market price is lower, the consumer pays the difference. This kind of settlement structure is known as contract for difference. The RE generator then transfers the associated green credits to the C&I consumers. As green energy open access regulations evolve, we notice significant advantage in adoption of green energy by industrial and commercial consumers. But there are few challenges also for open access consumers. They are availability of grid, availability of power, STU and CTU charges, cross-subsidy and additional cross-subsidy charges. However, DISCOMs may have concerns about potential loss of business. To address these DISCOMs, it can levy the trade-off or higher wheeling charges to the retained consumers. Further, they should ensure quality power supply through efficient operations. DISCOMs could also explore new revenue streams such as grid balancing and introducing competitive green tariffs to capitalize on the expanding RE market. DISCOMs also have a few challenges like forecasting demand and supply, load management challenges.
DISCOMs cannot let go of them to third-party sellers or offer them RE directly without a premium. Premium-based green tariffs were not successful in Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka. However, drastically declining RE prices bring new opportunities. DISCOMs can invest in rooftop solar plants on consumer premises to offer electricity at a price that is attractive in short term and viable in long term. This way, they can also save on transmission and distribution losses. DISCOMs can also look at retiring old and inefficient coal or gas PPAs and investing in decentralized solar pumps to reduce operating costs and burden of agricultural subsidies respectively. Doing so can reduce cost, retain consumers, and transition to renewable energy.
In conclusion, open access market in India represents a paradigm shift in the energy landscape. By promoting competition, efficiency and sustainability, it has a potential to unlock new opportunities for consumers, generators and the economy as a whole. With the concerted effort from the policymakers, regulators and industry players, India can harness the full potential of open access to drive its transition towards cleaner, more resilient energy future. If you have a more question on open access, please post your questions in the remarks box. I'm happy to come back to you in the next video. Thank you.